Today I've got a beautiful book that I want to show you that I think you definitely need to get now before they're all gone. I don't imagine that this book is going to last very long in stocks, and it is such a beautiful work that I think, I was really excited to get this book. Now, a little backstory. I actually saw that Stanley Barker had released this work, and I wasn't familiar with the work. And I had just commented, I think I had posted a story on my Instagram about how, I would love for someone to buy me this book. It was kind of in, a joke or in jest. And several weeks later, this book showed up at my house. I don't know who bought it for me. I did not buy it for myself. So if you're watching this and you did buy this book for me, thank you very much. No one came forward to tell me that they were the ones that bought me the book. So I don't know. Okay. So this book is by Katherine Turczan, I think is how you say her last name. Turczan, possibly. I've never met Katherine, but a friend of mine actually studied under her in undergrad, I believe. So this work is called From Where They Came. And I don't have a deep history of the work, but it's my understanding that her family actually fled Ukraine sometime in the early 1900s, 19 teens. Her father fought against the Bolsheviks in Ukraine. And so their heritage was really important to her. And again, from what I understand, like her grandfather had a big impact on her art practice, on her understanding of her own life. There's a really beautiful story about spending time at his house when she was a kid in the back of the book. And after he passed, I think in 1991, she said was her first trip, she saw how her connection to Ukraine was dissolving as her family was passing away. And so she went to Ukraine, and I think she said her first trip was in 91. And this also happened to be a time where Ukraine achieved its independence again from Russia, I believe. Again, I'm not 100%, I'm not a historian, but that is kind of what I've gathered by reading about the book. And so what a timely moment to be back in Ukraine, meeting her extended family, riding in cars with her extended family, people that she probably has never met before. And so she made this body of work, I'm assuming out of that experience. Now, that's all the backstory, but a great photo book, I don't think you need history for it to be an amazing photo book. And even the first pictures of this work that I saw, I was like, I don't know what this is about, but I want to see more. And I'll admit I've gotten a few books recently that I've seen a few photos from, and I don't have a big budget, so I have to kind of save up and wait for holidays and things to buy books. So again, whoever bought this for me, thank you so much. And I've gotten several books recently that have been extremely disappointing, and books that have even won Aperture Awards. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, which is always a possibility, but the editing or the sequencing has been really off. It's not very often that I see a book, I get a book, and it is so much better than the promotional material from the book or the few images I've seen from the book. This is one of those books that I think the book itself is so much greater than what I think you can see online. So I'm really happy to share this book. Okay, so this is a Stanley Barker book, and I love a lot of what Stanley Barker does, kind of just generally speaking. It's a soft cover, but it is Smith or Smyth's-own. So it's a really high quality book, but I love that it is soft cover. And the color almost has this like Santa type, kind of almost feels like a Santa type print on the front. And has that kind of color palette of like a Santa type. Here's the back of the cover. I think that's ISBN number. All right, so let's look at this. There's I think a short story in here by another writer, and it's I think in English and Ukraine. So we're not going to read all of that as our time is somewhat limited, but I did want to go ahead and work our way into the book itself. Okay, so we start here with an archival photo. I would assume of her grandfather. I don't know, but I would assume, just knowing the context of the book. And then we have this young boy, very well printed book. And so these pictures were made, again, in the early 90s, or started being made in the early 90s in Ukraine. And there is such like a tenderness to the work for me, but also like it's not overtly like location based when I look at it. Like I don't see the work and I'm like, oh, I'm obviously in Ukraine, or I'm obviously in a country that isn't America. There's so many of these pictures that feel like what I remember kids doing and kind of looking like when I was growing up, because I was about this age in the 90s. There's a lot of younger people in these pictures. And I believe this was all made with an 8x10 camera, so it's going to have a certain rendering that, is unmatched with any other image acquisition device. And the work is just so captivating, and I just always go back to there's a certain tenderness here. And considering that her family fled because of conflict and war, going back, and even I think it's the August uprising that was happening in Moscow. I think that's the name of the revolt, which led to the next set of independence for Ukraine. Again, not a historian. If you have more details, please add and comment. These videos are for growing and sharing. But even in these like very extreme, heart-wrenching situations, people are, and the place and the space is rendered in such a gentle, warm, innocent, kind manner. And it's I love seeing photographers walk into these spaces, and I feel like I get to feel some of what they felt when they were meeting these people and photographing these places. And I get a deep sense of affection that Katherine has for her home country and her extended family, or people that she's just met for the first time. I see the recurring, it's kind of a recurring theme of young boys that have these kind of like crowns that are made of some sort of foliage. So there's a significance there. I don't know what the significance is. Again, if you do, please comment and add that information. That would be really helpful for everyone. But even so, just look at the... The pictures are so humane, and I find that I'm often drawn to work that stands against inhumanity, that stands against inhumaneness, work that seeks to, or that does, I don't know what the goal was, but the work that does remind me of the value of human life and the beauty of human life. That word is used a lot. It's overused a lot. But I find that work that allows me to contemplate and meditate I mean, this is a picture that one of the pictures that I saw that's on some of the promotional materials that I was like, okay, what is this? I have to have it. I want a copy of this book. When you can go out into the world and make pictures, and that's a world that I want to live in. Those are the types of books that I'm always really drawn to. And I've never been to Ukraine. I only know one person that is from or a Ukrainian national. She was one of my students, and one of them, definitely by far one of the best students I've ever had the privilege of working with. But my understanding of the country is very, very limited. And, I think it's also important that when we're looking at work like this, that this is not a historical record to help us understand Ukraine. This is one person's experience of reconnecting with her family lineage and the places that she comes from and the people that she, who would she be if her family had never fled to the United States? Would she live in these places? Would she be a person's neighbor? Lots of different other questions. I had definitely not the same experience, but I did a little work in Northern Ireland, and some of my family lineage is from that part of the world that fled Northern Ireland or the south of Scotland many years ago. And it was really fascinating to just step foot on that ground and to think about, like, I'm the first person in my family line that's returned back to this place and this location. There's some gravity there that's hard to explain, or at least it was for me. She's just such an amazing, her portraiture is so captivating to me. It's quiet, it's tender. I feel like I've said tender 1,000 times. I'm really sorry. But it does all the things that I want a portrait to do, especially environmentally. Like, we're in these spaces, but they're not overly descriptive. They're not overly exotified or dramatic in the places or spaces themselves. And that, for me, adds a welcoming quality that I tend to see the commonality between these places and people, and how I think about my own places and my own family and my own existence in the world. This book is a little bit longer than a lot of the other works that I've shown so far, so this video might be slightly longer, but I just wanted, not that a video would ever do work like this justice, but I wanted you to have the opportunity to see a broader edit and sequence of the work itself. There's a lot of recurring things in here that I do see that I haven't really had time to ruminate on, as in, like, I feel like we're going in and out of these hospital scenarios, or like people are in bed, or someone looks like they might be ill or recovering. But obviously we're also, outside. She's in her bathing suit. Oh, this is great. Sadly, my book had a little blemish here. But you know what? These books are meant to be read and looked at. This, for me, is not a collector's item. I don't buy these so that I can sell them later at a profit. So I'm not concerned with this. This does not detract from how beautiful the pictures are. So, again, whoever bought this for me, thank you so much for sent this to me. I actually did message Stanley Barker because we talk a little bit on the social media from time to time, and they said, we see who sent this, but we can't tell you who it was because, breach of confidentiality and whatnot. I just thought that was really funny. Okay, and then there's a family picture of her family from, I don't know if it has a year in here, but there's a great little story in the back called From Where They Came. And the photographs were from 1991 to 2008, so what was that, over 15 years, if my math is roughly right. Okay. Beautiful, wonderful book. I would definitely recommend this one. There's a few different places that you can get it. Of course, you can get it directly from Stanley Barker, and from wherever you are in the world. There's also several places in the U.S. I need to check and see who has this in stock, but as a general rule, a lot of times I like to buy from Baltimore Photo Space. It seemed like a really great group. I bought a few things from them. It's a small operation, so like if you can support them, I would definitely support them. I'm not sure if they are carrying this currently, but I'll check and I'll find a place that you can get this and put that below. And then I would encourage you to just grab a copy, not because you should collect it, but because it really is a beautiful thing. I love having this on my shelf. I love just, taking it out and looking at some of these images. It's so inspiring. I wish I could make pictures like this. It's not the way that I make pictures, but I love seeing her experience of her home country, her homeland, through her camera. Wonderful experience. Okay. So that is the book for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Again, I'm not a historian, so there's a lot of those details that I would have to just look up and try to have a better understanding of. But hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully there'll be more book viewings, videos coming really soon. Thanks.